All we know on that right now from French authorities is that they did get a distress call and that the last words they're saying they heard were emergency, emergency. And obviously very frightening words to hear in connection with what was going on that airplane. But David Susi, we've got you up on Skype now, I believe. Again, this is more just confirming what is suspected than it is providing information into how this happened. But just in case you weren't hearing, the French authorities saying that not only did they receive a distress call, but the last words they heard from the cockpit were emergency, emergency. David?
Oh, yes. Good morning. They are frightening words, and what's concerning to me, I was looking at the airspeeds. The airspeeds of the aircraft before, about 15 minutes before this rapid descent at 3,400 feet per second per minute, the airspeed declined very sharply and then came back up again. So there's something that occurred about 15 to 20 minutes before the accident that gives me some concern. Then it went up to about 450 to 500 knots, and then there was a slight depression again in the airspeed. Now, it's very concerning to me because the altitude remained the same at this point. Now, when the airspeed continued to stay stable, but the aircraft then descended. So it's very confusing right now as to what could have possibly happened. There's not a lot of explanations for this other than some kind of engine failure or engine trouble at this point.
What does it mean that they didn't, did you get the information about what they didn't squawk? They didn't squawk 7,700, which is supposedly a distress signal for pilots. Explain what that means, and what does it mean that they didn't?
Well, what it means is that at that point they're squawking, saying, "I have an emergency. We have to clear the airspace for me to make a maneuver." So that's what the 7700 tells the air traffic controllers, is that right now I need all the airspace I can get. I'm going to have to make an emergency landing. What that might tell me is that he thought at that time that he may have been able to make it back to Grenoble Airport, and at that point could just say emergency, emergency, and not be able to respond in any other way. Because if you think about it, the tactile decision to actually reach up and change that squawk to 7700 takes time and attention. So if that time and attention is being distracted by something else, then of course he wouldn't have time to do that.
So David, back to the data that you've been looking at, we know that the airplane descended from 38,000 to 24,000 feet over the course of, say, 7 minutes mid-flight. Obviously very unusual. You're saying that 15 minutes prior to that, from what you're seeing, that the airspeed declined very rapidly. What might that mean?
Well, it would mean to me that there was either one of two things. Either intentionally the aircraft had pulled back its power, which is kind of common actually after you reach cruising altitude to pull your power back because you're at max thrust takeoff during the takeoff period, but then after that you pull it back. But that's not where this occurred. This occurred much during the actual climb itself, so it wasn't after it stabilized. It was during the climb itself that there was a rapid airspeed decrease and back up again. So if you look at the graph, there's a sharp spike in it that says, hey, we slowed down, and it was pretty significant. It was about 50 or 60 knots just within just a minute or two, and then back up again. So that indicates to me that there was some kind of either intentional move to reduce the power, or there was some kind of mechanical failure that caused it to do that. Of course, it's very speculative at this point, but the airspeed is private.
My source of joy, you are my source of strength. You are the creator of everything. You are the giver of life. You are my source of joy. You are my source of strength. You are the creator of everything. You are the giver of life. Now I give my praises to you.